Good morning, this is Susan Ashley. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Susan&Kassandra. I had a calling this morning to do this video for 2024, and whilst it's not encompassing everything that will happen in 2024 clearly, because we are individually choosing whatever timeline we wish to be on, and we are on the precipice at this moment of truly creating our own reality and really understanding what that is. Now, I'll be doing a group channeling, which is a private channeling, on the 17th of January. And if you'd like to participate in that, then you can go to my website, lovelightandtruth.com, and register. You can subscribe to my mailing list, which only gives out when I do groups. I don't send out weekly emails and things like that. I'm just not, I just don't, I'm not, it's just not me to do that, to push people into things and to how can I say, cord myself to people. I think this cords you to people when you're getting these emails every week, sometimes several times a week. It's like people pulling on your energy. And for me, my truth has always been your empowerment. And your empowerment means that if you receive a message to connect with me, then you do. Not because I am pushing myself, my energy, my words to you. Right? So I've always had a strong thing about that, and come into many arguments with different people who've wanted to represent me or promote me or what have you. It's never worked out, because I have never been able to be part of that paradigm of cording myself to people. I feel that it's really important that you have free will, you choose, and in choosing, you're empowering yourself. So for me, that could be one of the themes for you this year, because it's all about your truth. So everyone's on different timelines. For some people, it's the truth about justice. They want justice. So they're going to go on a timeline of receiving or dishing out justice. It's the same with the truth around your work, the truth about yourself. So your shadow side might come to the forefront to expose what's really hiding inside. A lot of people, I've been doing this work for almost 40 years now, which is a long time. And one of the things that never fails to astound me is when people come to me and they say things like, what if they find out who I really am and leave me? Or what if I find out there's something really bad about me? And 100% the truth is that it's something really good about them. And that thinking is coming from a program that they received as a young child, or even partly in a past life going into the child's experience. So we are all have the essence of goodness within. And when we go to our truth, we're going to the truth of our goodness, not to the truth of our so-called sins or indiscretions, right? So the truth about who you are is going to come to you. And then you'll be figuring out, how can I use that gift? Because your truth is your gift. How can I use that gift to better serve the planet? Whether it's your voice, your skill in writing, your skill in healing, your skill in communication, negotiation, your skill in science, whatever that may be. A lot of people have a lot of skills that are not being shown to the planet simply because we have a paradigm of untruth, of false reality, of, one could say, darkness that is blocking that. And that is being peeled. It has very strongly started to be peeled away in 2023. So 2024 is about you owning yourself. And that can be a very scary thing, because the question to you may be, what if what I find out I don't like? But what if what you find out is so beautiful that you're just sitting there going, I'm awesome. I mean, I say that every day. Yanni and I have this thing where we say to each other how lucky we are, one, to be together, but two, to have the life that we have, which is incredibly simple life. And that simple life provides peace and clarity for our mind and our bodies. And I believe that that's what many of us want. We want a simple life. Whether that simple life entails traveling the world, it doesn't matter. The simple life means I don't have a lot of worries that I have to contend with every minute of the day, a lot of stresses, a lot of combative energy that I have to deal with before I can even find peace within myself. So that's what I mean by a simple life. So the truth about you as an individual is going to come out, which means the truth about all these people who've been lying is going to come out as well. Now, I'm not saying that we need to sit there and rejoice in that and say, yeah, you know, all their sins are going to come to order. We don't know why they did the things that they did. So it's not a good thing to be judging people, because when we judge people, we cord to their energy. And when we cord to their energy, we cord to the creation of what they're creating. You know, I have heard over the years a lot of people, and I want to just clear up this confusion as well. A lot of people say, send love to your enemies, send love to the darkness, you know, to bring love all over the planet. And I, through the guidance of Cassandra, have for many, many years said, no, don't do that. And it's not because we want to withhold our love. It's because when we give energy that's so pure like that to someone who is, or something that is wanting to perhaps do or commit horrible things towards us, we're feeding the beast, right? And that's what they want. We can see this in society, this how much we have fed the beast. So sending them love is a lovely idea, isn't it? You know, because it's like, if I can control the outside world, then my world will be okay. That's where that's coming from. And a lot of us do that. We try to control the outside world so that we can be safe. But the only way we can truly be safe is to control our own world, to take hold of that. So instead of sending love to the darkness, how about emanating love from yourself and shining that love, loving yourself and shining that love so brightly that the darkness cannot come near you? And that is exactly what Jesus did. Jesus didn't send love to the demons. He shone his light so bright. I'm giving Jesus an example, as an example, because he's one of the few people in history that has done this, truly done this. Krishnamurti also. There are other people, but he's a really good example of someone who banished demons and created miracles, not from giving his energy to someone, but from standing in his own and allowing them to come to him. And so this is precisely what my guidance has given me around the whole, you know, sending love thing. We send love to those that love us, that care about us, that want to create a world together with us that is beautiful, and that empowers the whole thing. And what does it do when it starts to collectively co-create with each other? It pushes away the darkness. And the way that we are going to save this world, and I'm sure you all know what I mean by that, right? When you come to these private channelings, you get a very good understanding of what those bodies are that are pushing an agenda towards us and how they're doing it and how we can stand strong and change change our own reality, regardless of what they're doing. And I think this is a really important thing, because it's not about fighting. When you are a light being, your truth and your power is not your ability to fight. So as soon as you engage in a fight that's nasty, you've lost your energy at that point. And you're no longer creating, you're uncreating your reality. So, I'd really love you to join with us regularly when we do these channelings. But also that whole paradigm of being in your truth is about finding who you are, receiving yourself. And we receive ourselves within the silence. And that's what I meant by a simple life, the silence in the mind. When you have silence in your mind, you can receive those higher frequencies, because the mind is no longer attached to all those planes of existence that create chaos and want chaos in your life. So last year I did the silent retreat. I'll do another one in February, which I will send out a information about if you subscribe to us. But I was also told yesterday, actually, the new year, that it would be really important also to do, instead of these, two full days from Friday to Sunday, instead of doing that, maybe doing one day that, or 2 days, and incorporating manifestation, the ability, how to open up to what you want to manifest. And so we'll be changing things a little bit with regards to those retreats. But the first part is always about receiving yourself. That's why it's silent. The first day is silent, because unless you can receive yourself, you cannot receive those higher realms. If you're already always distracted, if we're always listening to this, that, and the other, then we can't receive ourselves. What we're receiving is everyone else, which is why I don't pound people with newsletters and things like that. And when someone says to me, which happens a lot, particularly the first time someone comes into my orbit and receives a healing or a reading, they always say, oh, when should I see you next? I always say, and I have done my whole career, I always say, when I come into your mind, you make an appointment. You make an appointment. Because I trust in myself, and I trust in the higher powers that I will be provided for, which means I don't need to be booked up 6 months or 2 years in advance like many people. I live in the moment and have done for many, many years. So you'll always find an opportunity to make an appointment with me. That's the way I am. And it's not because, a lot of people would say, but, if you're booked up 6 months or 2 years in advance, then you prove to people how amazing you are and how difficult it is to get in to see you. And I'm like, no, that's not the message I want to give. And it's a hard paradigm for people to go into. I've actually been living in the paradigm that we are all entering for many years. And I know it's been very difficult for people to comprehend this, to support me in it, because the mind wants to put everything into control, into little slots. And I live from the heart. And I'm inviting you to live from your heart, which is your truth. The truth is here on the way down to the heart, yeah? So if you're going into the truth, you're traveling to the heart. One of the things that I've been feeling a lot 2023, because, this year's just started, but I've been feeling a lot of bliss in my heart. Like I'll wake up in the morning and I'm in this heart space where my heart feels like it's completely open and soft and it's buzzing. And it feels blissful, like, when you go into a very still, deep, silent meditation, and it's as if the air is still and the trees are still and everything is in sync with you in a moment of frozen in time where everything is still. It's like slow-mo, you know. It's really still. And your heart feels like it's one with everything. Not it feels like, it is one with everything. I've been feeling that in the waking state for days, not just moments, and not through meditation, but for days. And it's the most amazing feeling. And I know I did a video about this a long time ago. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. A lot of my videos get taken down. But I remember it was, I'll give you the year, okay? This is when a big journey started for me. It would have been 1985. 1985, I was living on Bronte Beach in Sydney. And on the point there was a 3-story block of apartments, which was small, you know. Probably there's a big one now. It's probably been knocked down, but it was a beautiful old building. And it was right on the cliffs, on the point. It was the only apartment building there at the time. And you had to walk along a little path to get to the building. And like most places I've lived in, it goes like this. I'll walk past a place, literally a building, and say, gee, I'd love to live there. That looks amazing. And within the month, I'm living there. So that was the situation with this place in Bronte. And I had a lot of interesting things happen there because it was right on the cliff face. And if you know Bronte Beach, it can get very windy there, but it also, the sea is very, very pure and clean. Well, it was in 1985. And I didn't drive at that point. I used to catch all public transport, and I'd caught a bus. I used to catch the bus home. And, you know, it's probably around 6 p.m. It was still daylight in the summer. And I'd always get off so I could walk the whole length of the beach and then up the path to the apartment I lived in. And I remember getting off the bus, and when I put my foot on the ground, Susan disappeared. And I became one with everything. Now, the interesting thing is that I didn't notice any people, no car, nothing artificial, right? So people being anyone who wasn't living in their heart. I didn't notice the cars. I didn't notice people, but what I noticed was nature. And I became one with the nature. I'd think of a tree, I'd kind of look at, like me, Susan, as a body wasn't there. My physical body wasn't there. I was there as a spirit, as a space in time, as a consciousness. And I'd think of the tree, like I'd look at the tree. I could see through eyes, but they weren't physical eyes. And I'd look at the tree, and I became one with the tree. And then suddenly I'd know all the tree's experiences as much as the tree wanted me to know. So the tree would gift me what it wanted me to know. And I became one with the tree. So I felt like the tree. And then my attention would go to a blade of grass, and I felt all the grass. And the grass would tell me, merge with me, what it wanted me to know about the grass. And then the water, and so on it went. And I was one with everything in this space of pure love and energy and oneness. And my thought was clean. I had no thought of Susan. I'm not sure if I had no thought of Susan or where I had been or my family or my loved ones or the cars or the buses. Nothing, just nature. One with everything, the sun, the air, the sea, the blades of grass, the trees, the birds, all of this. I became one with it. And then when I came to myself, I was literally putting the key in my front door. And I realized that I had walked from the bus stop to the front door of the apartment, which was quite a walk, in that space of oneness. And I completely freaked out, right? I completely freaked out. And I had this person that I knew. I was part of a a psychic circle, actually, and the woman who ran it, I rang, and I'd just been introduced to it because I'd had this out-of-body experience that happened naturally. It was when I first started channeling Cassandra, and I started having out-of-body experiences, but this was different, completely different, because I didn't connect with Susan at all. And anyway, I rang this person, and the person gave me some very strange information. They said to me, oh, that's because you're going to die and you're going to experience what it feels like to die. It's a premonition of death. And I totally freaked out. You know, I'm 25. I'm thinking I'll never have kids. I'll never, you know, really fall in love and things like this. And I rang another friend, and her and a boyfriend came over, and he kind of knew my journey, that I was really wrestling with what I had studied, what I was studying about the mind, being a therapist, you know, and all the spiritual stuff that was going on, which I also pulled away for a long time. I didn't embrace it completely. But anyway, he said to me, Susan, what does your heart tell you? Sit in your heart. What does your heart tell you? And I said, well, it tells me that what she told me isn't true. And he said, you may not know what the truth is yet, but you know that what she said isn't true, so let it go. And I did. And now we sit in a time where I know that what I was experiencing was the truth of a reality that we are all going to experience, and that is oneness. And the reason that I only experienced it with nature is because the people around were still here. They were still in their mind and operating only from this sort of 3D paradigm of reality. And to reach that unity consciousness, one must go, traverse through 3D, through the programming of the mind, into the truth and energy and all of these things, and then into unity. And I've traveled that, and many of you have traveled that, and now we are on the precipice of that oneness. And part of that oneness is being able to create with Mother Nature. Not just with God or the universe or the light. It's not just with that, because that is God's representative on the planet, right? So we are all going to begin to connect with that and relate to that and manifest with that. I'm not talking about shamanism either, although I did have the luxury of studying with a shaman for a few years very deeply. And that was God's gift to me to understand a lot of things that were happening to me with regards to the elements and nature. Hence, I think that this channeling will have something to do with that, because I was asked to do a mini workshop about the elements prior to the channeling. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about, partly what I wanted to say about 2024 that I can say on this medium, because this medium is taking down my videos even when they're talking about unity consciousness. I don't know whether this one will be taken down in a week or two, who knows. But yeah, they're being taken down. Anything that I talk about. There was one that I was talking about, the battle between dark and light, that was taken down. You know, they get taken down. So I don't know whether this one will stay up or not, because there are people talking about these things, but they're not being targeted. Because I don't know. I don't want to go into that, why they're not being targeted. But what I can say is 2024 is an amazing year. Amazing year if you're willing to live in your truth. Right? Because there are many timelines out there that are dissolving, and those timelines have to do with what the darkness, the truth of what the darkness has been creating for all of us to live within. So perhaps you're creating a new one. Perhaps we are creating a new one. This is partly what I've been told also, and I believe that it's been told in these group channelings, is that there'll come a time, which is now, that you will be creating your own reality, and that the timelines that you've been walking upon or merging with or whatever will disappear. And what does that mean? It also means the time. I call them pillars of time when I do readings. We have pillars of time, which are people we're meant to meet, parents we're meant to have, countries we're meant to live in, work we're meant to do, studies we're meant to do, all this sort of thing. So these are called time pillars, and we can't avoid them because we set them up before we came to the planet. We set them up, nobody else, we did, to keep us on track. And so what'll happen is we might go off track for a while, but we'll go back on it, and those time pillars will come very quickly into our life. Is why people have sudden changes, sudden, it's like miracles happening over and over and over again. It's this sort of thing. So those timestamps are coming to like this, for a lot of people. Things will be happening really, really fast because we have to move into new timelines or create the timelines of the future, right? With that force that is coming down, with Mother Earth. We are co-creating together. It's not mankind dominating the earth and creating what we want. It's co-creating. That's what unity consciousness is all about. So I'm going to love you and leave you. I hope to see you on the group channeling and on the retreats that we are creating together. And I look forward to supporting you on your path. Lots of love and enjoy the day. Bye for now.